CTV Calgary, local breaking news with Ian White.
Hello, and thank you for joining us. Calgary police have identified the victim of Wednesday's fatal shooting in Ogden and are now looking to the public for help locating another suspect. In a news conference this afternoon, investigators say the shooting was targeted and believed to be connected to organized crime. Terry Fikowski joins us with the latest. So, Terry, what do we know about the victim?
Ian, Faisal Osman Abdulaziz has been identified as Calgary's 14th homicide victim of the year. CTV has learned the 32-year-old was well known to police with a history of charges and connections to organized crime. Abdulaziz was charged and later acquitted of second-degree murder in the deadly shooting of a 20-year-old man outside a hookah lounge in southeast Calgary back in 2020. In 2022, he was also charged part of an organized crime crackdown and convicted of separate gun-related offenses in 2023. Now, yesterday, he was found shot dead outside his vehicle around 12:30 in the morning in the 700 block of 20th Street Southeast. An hour later, police on the Tsuut'ina Nation attempted to pull over a blue Nissan Sentra that was driving aggressively, but the driver took off before later stopping near Buffalo Run Boulevard, where 4 men got out and fled on foot. Now, police took 1 person into custody nearby and 2 others hours later in Calgary's Palliser neighborhood. They're still searching for a 4th man who fled over the Stony Trail pedestrian bridge and could have went to Woodbine, Oak Ridge, Cedar Brae, or Palliser, and they're asking anyone with video or may have talked to him to come forward.
He is described as having a dark complexion, wearing dark clothing and shoes. He may have approached members of the public around 1:20 a.m. seeking help or requesting a ride to another location.
A burned-out vehicle was also found on the Tsuut'ina Nation, and investigators are working to see if it's connected to the shooting. No charges have been laid at this point. 1 person arrested has since been released, while 2 others remain in custody. Police noting, Ian, that none of the people in custody or victim are residents of the nation.
Okay, thank you, Terry. Final arguments are now being heard in the trial of 61-year-old Richard Mantha, with the Crown and defense clashing over what they say unfolded during the alleged sexual assaults of 7 women east of Calgary. Mantha, who pleaded not guilty to 20 charges, appeared by CCTV. As the Crown argued, the women's accounts are consistent, pointing to their similar descriptions of clutter inside Mantha's property and the vehicles they say he drove. Most of the alleged victims worked in the sex trade, but the Crown referenced testimony from several complainants who said they woke up impaired and partially undressed, submitting the evidence points to a lack of consent. The defense argues any sexual contact was consensual and says Mantha took reasonable steps to confirm that. They also question some complainants' drug use history, a point the Crown said does not undermine their accounts. The nearly 2-year-old trial has been delayed several times by lawyer changes, a language switch, and a stroke Mantha suffered last year. A psychiatric assessment found him fit to continue. The company that employed a worker who was killed on the job site will not face criminal charges. It happened when a trench collapsed in 2023 in the community of Charleswood. Liam Johnston, an apprentice plumber, did not survive. The Calgary Police Service tells CTV News there is not sufficient evidence to support criminal charges after consultation with Crown prosecutors. The company, Mr. Mike's Plumbing, is charged with 11 offenses under Alberta's Occupational Health and Safety Act. The company has pleaded not guilty. A trial is expected next summer. A new poll suggests most Albertans want public funding for private schools scrapped. A recent Think HQ survey suggests there is strong appetite for a change to the funding formula and how public money is dispersed to fund it. Tyson Fedor reports.
Should the province end allocating public dollars to private schools? A new survey question posed to more than 1,100 Albertans at the start of November came back with resounding results.
I saw this last month. It was right around the time of the teacher strike that they got this, and it didn't seem to get a lot of attention. So we thought, oh, this would be interesting.
59% of respondents said they would vote to end public funding for accredited private schools. Another 26% said no, while 15% were unsure. Among decided voters, support jumps to 69%.
If you actually put this on a ballot and the numbers come in at 70%, are you actually going to withdraw the funding and potentially see a whole host of independent schools across the province close?
A group called Alberta Funds Public Schools is trying to turn this funding question into a provincial referendum. They have until February to collect signatures for Elections Alberta and have it put to a vote.
Personally, I mean, I think it's just good to have people have options, I think.
Well, I'm in favor of private schools, and I kind of grew up that way, but I'm actually in favor of public schools.
The education budget is $9.9 billion this year. About $461 million is allocated to fund private schools. Around 48,000 Alberta K-12 students attend independent schools, and enrollment is increasing. Pollster Mark Henry says the issue is polarizing on both sides of the aisle.
People who voted NDP in the last election almost universally dislike this, the funding of students going to private schools with public money. Conservative voters are a bit more split.
And Tyson joins us now. Tyson, what is the province saying about this latest poll?
Well, Ian, in response to the poll, the education minister tells CTV News that listening to diverse views on education is an important responsibility. He adds that the varying opinions on how to best fund education in this province are welcome and helpful. As for the poll, it has a margin of error of plus or minus 2.9 percentage points, 19 times out of 20. Ian?
Thank you, Tyson. A short but sharp change in the weather today. Temperatures are dropping and the wind chill makes it feel much colder. And there are more problems. City crews are working to fix water main breaks, including this one in Beddington Heights. 40 homes were cut off as workers dug down to replace the cracked pipes. Water wagons were brought in so residents could fill up and haul water back to their homes. And certainly, Danielle, our hearts go out to them. That sounds very challenging, especially in rather cold conditions like this.
Yeah, and we talked about today, it was cold in the morning and then temperatures just continue to plummet throughout the day. So I will say this, if you're not a big fan of the cold and all the issues that come with it, we get a reprieve later this week and temperatures will climb. But until then, today, tomorrow, yeah, it's frigid. So minus 29 is what it feels like in the city right now with the wind chill. Minus 27 in Claresholm, minus 26 in Lethbridge, and minus 31 in Medicine Hat. Tomorrow will be no better. It's been gusty today, so closer to that 60 mark in Pincher Creek, 50 in Lethbridge, closer to 60 in Medicine Hat. Brooks in those mid-50s, just over 40 in Drumheller and Calgary 31. We're all looking at gusts around 40 kilometers per hour for the most part, and in this corner we're looking at up to 60 kilometers per hour for tomorrow. So the gusts will increase a little bit in many communities for the day tomorrow, and that's going to add to the wind chill. Because temperatures will still be very cold. All right, so there's a cold warning in place for areas around Hanna and Oyen, and this is because wind chills could be in the just about minus 40, if not just lower than minus 40. So that's why that's in place for tonight and early tomorrow morning. Still a lingering snowfall warning in place for the southeast corner and along Highway 93. Because this system, well, there's another wave with it. So we're looking at more snowfall. That bullseye area mainly south of Medicine Hat for the snowfall and of course Highway 93. So let's talk about these waves because we have a little bit of snowfall this evening in the far, far south, as you can see right here. Then we're done for just a moment. Then it intensifies in the far south early tomorrow morning. And then we're going to start to see some lighter flurries around 9 o'clock in the morning in the city. And then this will intensify in the afternoon, which is why we'll pick up some totals for tomorrow. So if you're going out to shovel, definitely bundle up and get all that skin covered because frostbite can happen within minutes. All right, so there's that intensification of the snowfall tomorrow afternoon. And then this clears out for the weekend. As this clears out, we're going to get a push of wind from the west and temperatures will warm. And a lot of this will melt. Some of it will melt. All right, around 3 to 6 centimeters is what's most likely in the city from this, and this is from tonight through tomorrow. 4 centimeters for Okotoks, 8 for Lethbridge, and again, more of that bullseye area south of Taber and south of Medicine Hat, closer to another 18 centimeters is certainly possible. Canmore over to Cochrane, about 3 centimeters, maybe 4. All right, so the day planner for Calgary. Minus 22 at 8 a.m. But with the wind chill at 8 a.m. when off to work and school, it will feel like minus 30. So again, be prepared for another one just like this and a minus 28 wind chill in the afternoon as that snow intensifies and we pick up some snow totals. All right, so for tomorrow again as our high, -17, wind chills in the -30s for the morning, 3 to 6 centimeters is what's likely for the day. But then we get to -5 on Saturday. That's more reasonable, just below what's normal for this time of year. And then +7 for Sunday to end the weekend.
Thanks, Danielle. A new report warns Alberta has not properly confronted the massive environmental and financial liabilities left behind by energy development. The research shows the province faces as much as $300 billion in oil and gas cleanup liabilities due to orphaned and abandoned wells. Tim Brooke has more on who pays and who doesn't.
Just 9 years after this Two Hills resident welcomed energy development on his land, the site was sold to a new company and the lease payments stopped.
Why did the regulator allow thousands of inactive well sites to be transferred to a company like Sequoia? And it'd be out of business in 18 months.
Orphaned and abandoned wells have long been a major issue in the province. A new report looks at just how bad things have become. Analysis by research firm Redwater Insights looks into the impact of this unreclaimed infrastructure. It concludes the province has not done enough to keep companies on the hook for their own mess.
So the idea of saving for a rainy day, which we know is going to come, which is the plugging and abandonment of the wells, doesn't happen. So you've got to play catch up once you have a large number of mature wells.
The report says Canada's largest publicly traded energy companies are giving about $14 to their shareholders for every $1 they spend on well plugging and reclamation.
There's still capacity within industry to deal with this problem, and now is the best time to do it.
But the report predicts that won't happen. The authors instead believe Alberta's proposed cleanup strategy will soon make it even easier for companies to offload their aging wells and walk away, just like in Two Hills.
You restrict transfers of late in life wells, or at least police that to make sure that those aren't being transferred to companies that are just going to dine and dash, so to speak.
Without changes and with new development ambitions, landowners worry more issues are on the way.
Premier has talked about doubling our production. Well, does that mean double the mess suddenly?
Tim joins us with more. And Tim, the province says this isn't entirely its fault.
Yes, this truly is a problem decades in the making. A spokesperson from the Energy Ministry reached out today and said this is all because prior governments have just kicked this issue down the road for years. But that spokesperson says this government is specifically committed to addressing the problem. They add that the province still supports a polluter pay principle and has recently increased the minimum spend for industry on reclamation. Back to you.
Tim, thank you. Alberta First Nations leaders are voicing their opposition to the pipeline agreement between the province and the federal government. The chief spoke in Ottawa, highlighting what they said was a lack of consultation with the First Nations before Prime Minister Mark Carney and Danielle Smith agreed to the MOU in November. It sets out conditions for a new bitumen pipeline from Alberta to the BC coast, including language allowing Ottawa to adjust BC's tanker ban if necessary.
This is unacceptable. We expect Canada to ensure meaningful consultation takes place in Alberta, not after deals are signed, but before any decisions are made. We are asking Canada to stop turning a blind eye to how Alberta and industry operate in our territory. Ottawa must pay attention. Ottawa must insist on proper lawful consultation.
And the Assembly has called for the pipeline agreement to be withdrawn. The fall session of Alberta's legislature wrapped today while the UCP government is celebrating the passing of more than a dozen pieces of legislation. Some other Albertans are denouncing the multiple uses of the notwithstanding clause, and they plan to take action. Alicia Fieldberg reports.
The legislative building looks festive and the fall session is wrapped.
We're proud of the work that we have done this sitting. The bills passed and the way that we have defended Albertans, protected children, and worked to improve healthcare and education in the province of Alberta.
The government passed 14 pieces of legislation, including a dual practice health model and limitations on courts and regulatory bodies.
Of those 14 bills that we had before the House, not one of them was about the economy. Not one of them was about cost of living. The ones that were about healthcare demonized a couple of dozen trans kids and privatize the system.
The UCP caucus says it provided a sleigh full of wins for families, healthcare, and the province's future.
What they've delivered is a huge lump of coal.
The UCP government also used the notwithstanding clause 4 times to shield 3 new laws about transgender people and to end a 3.5-week strike by forcing teachers back to work and to accept a deal they rejected.
What we would describe as an attack on fundamental worker rights and democracy. You know, if we're going to maintain the middle class in this province, we have to fight back.
What happened outside the legislature also got a lot of attention, including the Premier and Prime Minister signing a memorandum of understanding about a potential future pipeline and recall petitions on 21 MLAs.
It's showing up in some of the public opinion polling, and I think a lot of questions are being raised about who Danielle Smith is really representing. And whether her commitment to democracy is as deep as she once claimed.
Alicia Fieldberg, CTV News, Calgary.
The head of the AFL says there are roughly 400,000 unionized workers in the province. He says workers are discussing ways to push back against the provincial government in the new year. Alberta's Auditor General says better guidelines are needed to ensure high-quality health care is achieved in the province. A report found Alberta Health Services performance reporting is inconsistent and insufficient. Without fixes, Doug Wiley says no one will be held properly accountable to make sure the health system meets the standards Albertans pay for and deserve. He found the AHS business plan for 2023 wasn't published, and the plan for 2024 didn't come out until 300 days into the fiscal year.
And at the end of the day, you have to come back and demonstrate accountability to those that you're serving. And in healthcare, it's vitally important, I would suggest, to Albertans. This is something that Albertans rightly cherish. Healthcare is important to everyone, right?
The healthcare audit is one of 8 reports released Thursday by Wiley's office. Another looked into Alberta's flood mitigation systems, and the Auditor General says the Municipal Affairs Ministry denied releasing critical information about developing in flood hazard areas. People in BC's Fraser Valley are watching local rivers rise, and hundreds of people are already out of their homes. This is the scene in Sumas, Washington, a city on the U.S.-Canada border. It's virtually cut off after the Nooksack River overflowed. North of Sumas in Abbotsford, BC, 82 homes were evacuated today. Hundreds of farms in the Fraser Valley are at risk of flooding. Since Tuesday, more than 150 millimeters of rain have fallen. Residents say the situation reminds them of 2021, when another atmospheric river swept through the area, causing flooding and more than $2 billion in damage. A new grocery store is open in a growing southwest Calgary neighborhood. There was a lineup to get in before Sobeys opened this morning near Old Banff Coach Road and 85th Street in the West District neighborhood. The company says it's aiming for the store to be a community hub. West District is already the site of several new stores and restaurants, with more to come as hundreds of new houses and condos continue to be built in the area.
This is a new development that Truman has put together. Our partners at Truman are helping create this community, and we're just really excited to be a part of it. There's a new vibrancy to the restaurants and the area around here with all the new condos and everything that's going up, and we're just happy to help bring some connectivity and some convenient shopping experience to all the neighbors around here.
The new Sobeys features local produce from Alberta farmers, a bakery, deli, butcher, and pharmacy. Discovery House is preparing for a holiday dinner and gift giving for families leaving domestic violence. The shelter has bought personalized gifts for hundreds of kids involved in the program, with a special visit by Santa Claus expected this evening. Along with the presents, there will be a traditional holiday meal and crafts for the kids. Discovery House says events like this help families feel safe and celebrate.
A lot of the children who come to our shelter can't play. And that was really shocking when I first came to Discovery House, hearing that there are children who have a difficult time playing because they've grown up in an environment that is not safe. So celebrating the holidays is something that we do naturally, most of us, but it's also so important for these families to be able to have a safe place to land.
Discovery House provides housing, mental health support, and programs for about 600 people each year. A Calgary teenager is now a finalist in an international science competition. 15-year-old Annie Udofia made it to the round of 16 in the Breakthrough Junior Challenge. She put together a video about organoids, lab-cultured versions of human organs created from a patient's own stem cells. Annie is in the running for $400,000 worth of prizes, including a college scholarship and a new science lab for her school. She is a grade 10 student at William Aberhart High School in Calgary. Thanks for joining us. Our evening news is preempted today for the NFL. We'll have more on the top stories tonight at 11:30 or anytime online at ctvnewscalgary.ca.